If you would like to contact me, send me an email to monty_collier2000@yahoo.com. Welcome to the Presbyterian Research Center. My name is Monty Collier. In this video, I will be discussing Casuistry and R.C. Sproul. This is part 4. In the last video, we saw Dr. R.C. Sproul lie in an attempt to defend J.I. Packer, who Sproul considered to be his theological ally. See Chosen by God, Chapter 2, pages 45 through 46. Dr. Packer came under fire for publishing the absurd claim that the Bible has many contradictions in it. See Chapter 2 of Packer's book, Evangelism and the Sovereignty of God. In that book, Packer chose to call these alleged contradictions antinomies. Even so, some people carefully read his remarks and realized that Packer was actually using an uncommon term to state that Holy Scripture teaches notions that are actually inconsistent and are incapable of ever being logically reconciled. Packer's utilization of ambiguous terminology to equivocate for the purpose of deception is known as casuistry. Dr. Sproul supported Packer's heresy and attempted to defend it without any proof from Packer's publication in question. So Dr. Sproul begged the question, which is an informal logical fallacy. Affirming men who teach heresy, such as Thomas Aquinas, Cornelius Van Til, and J.I. Packer, is a pattern for Dr. Sproul. All three of the above heretics, publicly defended and supported by Sproul in his publications, appealed to contradictions to support their teachings which reject Sola Scriptura and Sola Fide. Sproul supported Van Til's views in Chosen by God, Chapter 1, page 16. Van Til's dialectical teachings on irreconcilable paradox have been used by numerous individuals to teach justification by faith and works. For example, when Professor Norman Shepherd was fired from Westminster Seminary, Pennsylvania, during an examination that covered the late 1970s and early 1980s, Van Til publicly defended Shepherd's teaching of justification by faith and works, as Shepherd appealed to Cornelius Van Til's teaching that Romans 3:28 and James 2:24 both teach God's method of justification from sin before his tribunal, and that the two teachings are irreconcilably paradoxical. That is, Romans 3:28 and James 2:24 logically contradict each other, so they cannot be reconciled. Now, despite Van Til's teaching and public defense, Professor Shepherd was rightly fired. Van Til, like J.I. Packer, publicly taught that God's sovereignty and man's free will were contradictories, that is, irreconcilably paradoxical. We see Cornelius Van Til assert that God's sovereignty contradicts human responsibility when he attacks a Presbyterian minister for claiming that men can solve rhetorical paradoxes found in the Bible, and that God's sovereignty and human responsibility can be shown to be logically consistent. Cornelius Van Til writes the following, and I quote, "Dr. Clark thinks that Christians can solve certain paradoxes of faith. He thinks there is no mystery in the question of the relation of divine sovereignty and human responsibility. The mystery is rather that the church has so long thought of it as a mystery." End quote. In Introduction to Systematic Theology, Chapter 13, that was page 169. One should note Cornelius Van Til's irrational appeal to mysticism and how Van Til chooses to use the term mystery in place of contradiction, just as J.I. Packer chose to use the term antinomy in place of contradiction in his book. Again, this is the utilization of ambiguous terms to equivocate for the purpose of deception. Casuistry. In this video, I will show Sproul and his teaching on the term mystery, and that it is nothing short of sheer confusion. Appeals to mystery are commonly used by dialectical theologians and Roman Catholic theologians as an excuse to affirm logical contradictions to protect their irrational claims. Sproul writes the following, and I quote, The term mystery refers to that which is true, but which we do not understand. End quote. Chosen by God, chapter 2, page 46. The emphasis is Sproul's. Sproul begins by telling us that a mystery is something true. This implies that a mystery is one or more true propositions. In the context of Sproul's book and our theological discussion, this implies that a mystery is one or more true propositions taught in the Bible. According to Sproul's definition, mysteries are true. Sproul goes on to reinforce his claim that mysteries are true and not false by writing the following, and I quote, "The Trinity, for example, is a mystery. I cannot penetrate the mystery of the Trinity or of the incarnation of Christ with my feeble mind. Such truths are too high for me. I know that Jesus was one person with two natures, but I don't understand how that can be. The same kind of thing is found in the natural realm. Who understands the nature of gravity, or even of motion? Who has penetrated the ultimate mystery of life? What philosopher has plumbed the depths of the meaning of human self? These are mysteries. They are not contradictions." End quote. Page 47. Sproul is arguing that mysteries are true because they are not contradictions. A contradiction, by definition, is untrue. Contradictions are false. They are lies. However, at the bottom of the same page, Sproul suddenly turns and says the following about mysteries, and I quote, "All contradictions are mysterious. Not all mysteries are contradictions. Mysteries may be true. Contradictions can never be true." End quote. Page 47. The above quote from Sproul tells us that some mysteries are contradictions. Since contradictions are not true, Sproul has contradicted his prior claim that mysteries, by definition, are true. Quote, "They are not contradictions," end quote, Chosen by God, page 47. Now, this self-contradicting nonsense is designed to confuse the readers. The idea of this strategy is to frustrate and confuse the readers to the point where they simply give up and accept the teacher's claims on the teacher's so-called authority. This strategy is akin to Pyrrhonistic skepticism, which was used by the Jesuits during the Counter-Reformation. If the audience is not trained in logic, grammar, and the Bible, they can easily be tricked with this type of casuistry and sophistry. This Jesuit strategy is utilized to support the blasphemous Roman Catholic teaching of implicit faith while attacking Sola Scriptura and private individual judgment. Sproul has also described mysteries to be capable of being understood. Truth is logically consistent and, by definition, capable of being understood. By contrast, a contradiction is a lie. A contradiction is irrational, and its opposing ideas cannot be reconciled. Each opposing idea in a contradiction can be understood, but they cannot be harmonized, which means they cannot be shown to be logically consistent. Now, in a contradiction, if one of the ideas, that is, contradictories, if one of those are true, then the other is necessarily false. With that in mind, Sproul goes on to write the following, and I quote, "Mysteries are capable of being understood," end quote, page 47. Here Sproul is teaching that with more information and study, mysteries can be understood, for they are true. However, Sproul then turns and says the following, and I quote, "This does not mean that everything that is presently a mystery to us will one day be made clear, but that many current mysteries will be unraveled for us. Some will be penetrated in this world. We have not yet reached the limits of human discovery. We know also that in heaven things will be revealed to us that are still hidden. But even in heaven we will not grasp full the meaning of infinity," end quote, page 47. Now Sproul is telling us that some mysteries will never be understood here, and even when we get to heaven. This contradicts Sproul's claim that mysteries, by definition, are capable of being understood. Sproul's self-contradicting nonsense, these remarks that he's making, indicate that he is confused. His writing is unclear, and his teaching is to be rejected, See Habakkuk 2:2 and Matthew 5:37. I now close this video with the following warning, quote, "A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways," end quote. James chapter 1, verse 8. God bless.